from CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Good morning, I'm Jim DeFede, and welcome to Facing South Florida. A stunning week of testimony in the impeachment inquiry in Washington. The testimony of Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch was incredibly powerful and placed a human face on the growing scandal involving the president. Also in Washington, a federal jury convicted Roger Stone of lying to Congress. The jury found that he lied to protect the president from the Mueller investigation. So not a good week for President Trump. There will be a great deal of analysis on these developments across the news landscape this morning. So this week, at least I want to keep the focus of this show on the issues taking place here in Florida, particularly the Florida legislature, which will start its session in a few weeks. My guest this morning is in a key position to discuss those issues. Kionne McGhee is a Democratic leader in the Florida House, and he represents a district that includes parts of South Miami-Dade. And we welcome here to the show Mr. Minority Leader. Thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you all for always having me, Jim. How's everything going?
It's going well. So let's just sort of take a step back and give me the perspective. You obviously lead the Democrats in the Florida House. You guys are in the minority. The Republicans tend to be a little bit more conservative in the House. What are we expecting? What is the Democratic strategy going into this year's session?
Well, our goal is simply to keep the people first. And right now, we're looking at issues that are going to deal particularly with making sure that teachers receive a raise this year. Secondly, we understand this is an election year that's coming up in 2020. Therefore, it looks like red meat will be provided to the bases of each party in order to get them aroused and enthused about the up-and-coming election. But we have to be absolutely clear. We must keep the focus on the people of Florida to ensure that they get a fair shake.
So there's a couple of issues that you talked about that I want to get to, but I want to start with, we had another school shooting in the country this week in California. Right. Several students were killed by a fellow classmate. There has been an effort by the Florida Senate. I know that former Senate President Tom Lee has been leading a task force to sort of come up with some recommendations on what the next steps that the Florida legislature should take. Do we know what is coming this year and what we can expect and what's reasonable to anticipate?
Background checks. At the end of the day, the overwhelming Floridians believe that a background check, universal background checks work.
Well, so are you anticipating that will be proposed, and do you think that has a good chance of passing?
Now, there are two questions you just proposed. Number one is, will it be proposed? We're going to propose a universal background check. My caucus will do that. The next question is, will the legislature hear it? As you're aware, we're not in position to have bills heard, but we can push the issue. But universal background checks have to be the number one issue as it relates to gun violence and gun usage.
Now, I also know that at least one of your members is proposing an assault weapon ban. That's been proposed before. Yes. That's gone nowhere before. Is that the same fate that we're likely to see to it this year?
We're going to keep filing the same bills so long as we are having this issue of assault weapons in our communities. Representative Carlos Guillermo-Smith is going to do a great job in ensuring that the voices of the people who are affected by these high-powered killing machines are heard. So therefore, if we need to file that bill year in and year out until it is finally heard, we're going to do that.
So as I said, I want to sort of try to focus for us a few seconds on just talking about what we think might pass. What do you think that the legislature might be able to accomplish this year that could get bipartisan support? I mean, we passed red flag laws in the past. We saw an increase in the age before you can own a firearm from 18 to 21. Are there other things that we think will pass? Is there some form of background check that you think Republicans would be willing to get behind?
And that's a question for them, Jim. And at the end of the day, we're open. You know, my caucus is particularly open for that discussion. As a matter of fact, we're the ones pushing forth the actual language for them to consider. The question now becomes, can we get a committee hearing on these particular bills?
So, as I said at the outset, Tom Lee, the former Senate president, was tasked with coming up with some recommendations. Do we know what his recommendations are? What is he proposing? Because he obviously, if he's proposing something, a former Senate president, a member of the state Senate now, it would carry some weight. What is his committee? What does his group come forward with?
Well, your guess is just as good as mine.
We haven't seen it yet.
We haven't seen it yet. So, but what I can say is that there is a conversation and a discussion that's actually being had. Before this is off the table. Normally, the legislature would always shoot down any, no pun intended, but shoot down any opportunity where we want to discuss some sort of reform as it relates to guns.
Now, one of the things that I know that has been talked about before is red flag laws. Do we see an expansion of some red flag laws? Are you satisfied that the red flag laws that have been in place that were introduced last year, are they working? Do they seem to be effective? Are they making the right changes?
Well, time will tell. As we're looking at right now with the school increase in salaries for teachers. They've tried it 6 different times over 13 years. As it relates to the red flags, time will tell exactly whether it works, whether we need to revisit, and whether some modifications need to be had.
All right, let's talk about teacher salary and teacher bonuses. The governor has put forth 2 proposals. One that would increase salaries from to about, I think it's about $47,500. That's the base minimum salary for a new teacher, which would put us second only to New Jersey in terms of starting pay. Right now, we're around 26 in the country.
Correct.
And then the second proposal that he came out with just a few days ago was a bonus system, basically revamping the bonus system so that there's going to be a way for different teachers at different stages of their careers to receive bonuses, also creating incentives to try to teach in schools that may not be attractive for some teachers to want to go into, some inner city schools and things like that.
Listen, at the end of the day, teachers deserve bonuses. They also deserve raises. But we're not so much concerned with the bonus at this moment. We're simply calling for teacher raise. That's what they need. That's what they've been calling for. This will affect over 100,000 teachers in the state of Florida. This would give us not only the opportunity to have the best and retain the best teachers, but it will also bring about more dignity to our teachers in this process.
So let's define what you mean by teacher salary raises. So the raises, so there's been some pushback by the teachers unions and others that if you increase the starting salary to basically $47,500 for new teachers, you could have new teachers making more than teachers who are in the school system 5 or 6 or 7 years, because suddenly they'll increase their pay that dramatically. How do we create a system where teachers who have been in the system already for 5, 10, 15 years also receive raises?
Well, it has to be done by a percentage system, a step system, as we proposed last year with the Sunshine Deal. And the Sunshine Deal simply said, in order for us to achieve that level of equity, we simply have to use a percentage system to get everybody on the same boat where the tide lifts all boats. And right now, under the current proposal, which we haven't seen, we just heard that the governor talked about it, which I'm looking forward to having a meeting with him about it. But we're looking for something that would say not only to the incoming teachers, but those teachers who've been on the battlefield day in and day out, to simply give them an opportunity to participate in prosperity.
So a lot of this comes down to, from your perspective, again, you're the Democratic leader in the House. In a way that you're not really in control. You have to wait and see what Republicans are putting forward, what Republicans are allowing to send to and be heard in committee. So how do you view that role, and how do you sort of exercise that your position to get your voices, the Democratic voices, heard in the legislature?
Well, it's two ways, Jim, and then this is how it works. When you're in the minority, there are 2 ways to get things done. You can work with the other side, put aside the partisan politics and focus on the policy, or you can sit there and rail against the system and get absolutely nothing done. In this particular era, we have an opportunity to work together with the Republicans. When we're on the House floor, normally when it comes down to issues dealing with the pocketbook, like teacher raises and teacher bonuses, we're not looking at party affiliation. We're particularly looking at, does this make sense, financial sense, for our teachers? And if the answer is yes, I'm going to put aside the Republican or Democratic title and go at this thing head on.
Now, you've been criticized. Let's be honest.
Yes.
There's been some criticism of you from within your caucus that you play too nice with the Republicans, that you're too accommodating sometimes with Republicans. That's a fair statement that you've heard that criticism. Whether you believe it or not, that's the criticism that you've received, correct?
Well, listen, every leader is criticized at some point, at some step along the way. There are about 4 or 5 individuals within my caucus who will, no matter what I do, criticize the move I make, because I am not ultra left. and I will go on the record to tell you that. What I am about is sensible solutions to deal with reckless situations and problems that are facing our people in the great state of Florida. Listen, when I traveled to the Panhandle to help out our brothers and sisters who were affected by Hurricane Michael, I took criticism from within my own party because they felt as if the Panhandle was simply a red area and that no Democrat should venture there to help out. But what I've learned over time is this. When it comes down to helping people, Jim, it shouldn't be about Democrat or Republican. It should be about whether or not you really care about your brothers and sisters enough to risk it all to bring them to the forefront.
Now, I don't want to get too arcane with House rules, but one of the things that has come up in the last session is that essentially, if a bill is proposed or introduced on the floor, it should not be voted on the same day it enters the floor. That there needs to be a cooling off period.
Correct.
And unless you accede to that, unless you say it's okay to hear it and vote on it on the same day. And there were about 80 bills, some controversial, some not, that you did allow to sort of pass through and get voted on the same day. Is that going to happen again?
Well, listen.
Or does it really make a difference whether you introduce it on a Tuesday and vote on it on a Wednesday?
Listen, Jim, one thing I've come to realize is that I know how to count. In the state legislature, you need 61. In the state house, you need 61 votes to move anything off the floor. We have 47. So at the end of the day, the Republican Party, with the numbers that it currently has, can move the bills with or without our input. However, my strategic strategy was simply this: to allow for us to get to the real issues and move away from the bills that have actually that came through the actual committees that were actually voted without opposition in those committees. So why then should I waste taxpayers' time and money when in fact there are some more serious issues that we can use that opportunity and that time to really debate? And that's what we saw when it came down to things such as Amendment 4, affordable housing debates, when it came down to equality for our brothers and sisters of the LGBTQ community. So that's what my strategy is all about. I've never been about one who's always simply want to grab the microphone and talk on every single bill. To me, that's not effective. What's effective is giving the people of the state of Florida an opportunity to enjoy the prosperity that they want and that they deserve for all the hard work they've done.
All right, I want to come back. I want to talk about health care, Medicaid expansion. I want to talk about your bill to start being able to pay student athletes. There's a lot to cover. We'll do that more with Representative Kionne McGhee when we come back.